It seems like Jimi Hendrix is back in the news, and everyone is talking about him. After more than 50 years, Washington State finally said what music fans already knew. Things are getting really big on stages across America for the first time since before COVID. There are music stars who want to be a part of it. One famous person is even coming out of retirement to join in. What's going on with Jimi Hendrix right now is making the internet go crazy. His birthday is November 27, 1945, and he was born in Seattle. Alan and Lucille were their parents. They had trouble with money and fought a lot. She was only 17 years old when Jimi was born. Alan served in the army in Alabama. When he asked for time off, he was locked up for more than a month and couldn't go home. Jimi's childhood was a mess. Both of my parents drank a lot. Their house was not stable. 4 of his brothers were taken by the government and put in care. Jimi was sent to CA to stay with a family friend for a short time. When Alice got home from the war in 1945, he took Jimi back to Seattle. Alan and Lucille split up in 1951. Jimi and his younger brother Leon were given to Alice as children. Jim was 15 years old when Lucille died of liver disease in 1958. The boys weren't allowed to go to the funeral by Allah. He gave them whiskey instead and said, "This is how men deal with loss." At that time, Jimi found solace in music. It had always interested him. He used to carry a broom around school and act like it was a guitar. A social worker saw him and asked the school if they could buy him one, but nothing come of it. Jimi found a broken ukulele with only one string when he was 15 years old and helping his dad clean out a house in 1957. The woman who lived there told him he could keep it. Jim learned how to play by himself, putting on Elvis Presley music. Alan finally got a real guitar after his mother died. It was his way out. He learned on his own while listening to blues and early rock. He quit Garfield High School when he was 17 years old in 1959. He only cared about music. He played in bands in the area, such as the Rockin' Kings and the Velvetones. He didn't have a steady job and often had trouble making ends meet. He slept in empty cars sometimes, but he never stopped playing. He paid close attention to other artists. They played the guitar with their teeth. One of them was Butch Snipes. He took the move and added it to his act. In 1961, Jimi was 19 years old when he was caught riding in a stolen car. He was locked up for a week. He could either go to jail or join the army. He joined the army and was put in the 101st Airborne Division. Hendrix was interested in the Screaming Eagles because of how well known they were. During World War II, this division fought in the D-Day landings. At Fort Ord in California, he began his basic training. By August 1961, he was done with training and had become a private. At that point, he was sent to Fort Campbell in Kentucky. It was hard for Hendrix to be in the army. He didn't like how things were set up or the rules. He wrote to his dad and told him how much he hated being in the service. One thing, though, kept him going. Betty Jean was the name he gave to his Red Dane electro guitar. He played it all the time. Billy Cox was another man that Hendrix met at Fort Campbell. Cox played the bass. Music brought them together right away, and they became good friends. They got together and made a band called the King Casuals. They started putting on shows near the base, and sometimes in towns close. His plans for the future began even while he was in the military. He was only in the army for 13 months before his time was up in 1962. The official reason was that he hurt his ankle on his 26th parachute jump. The army said he could no longer handle the physical duties, but other records show that he wasn't doing a good job. He didn't do his bed checks, slept through his shifts, failed shot drills, and did poorly in physical training. Some news stories even said he seemed gay, which at the time could get someone released. Hendrix still got an honorable release despite all of this. They moved to Clarksville, Tennessee after Hendrix got out of the war. They were eager to keep making music. They played in small places and kept the name King Casuals. Before Hendrix made his own style, this was the time. When he played the guitar, he turned it over so that the right hand was facing down. He began to do tricks too, like playing with his teeth and behind his head. There was a lot of pressure to entertain. Hendrix once said, "Even skill isn't enough. Wished for a show. You didn't get asked back if you didn't stand out." Some band leaders didn't like how flashy he was and thought he was trying to get all the attention. But Hendrix kept making his show better. On the Chitlin tour from 1962 to 1965 he played guitar as a backup. During segregation, this was a list of places in the South, Midwest and East Coast where black artists could play. Things were not going well. Often the pay was very little or none at all. Bob Rush, who also played, said that they were paid in food sometimes. In January 1964, Jimi Hendrix didn't know what to do. He had played behind other artists for years, living under their radar, and following their rules. He wants to have more say over his music and career now. He then made a choice. He quit the backup jobs, and moved into the Harlem Hotel Teresa. It was there that he met Lithafane Prigun. She was known as Faye. He became her boyfriend, because she was in the Harlem music scene. He had a place to stay, she helped him, and she pushed him to keep going. He also met Arthur and Albert Allen around that time. Their family had been in Harlem clubs for a long time. Hendrix began playing in small venues, and filling in for other bands all over the city in an effort to get known. He took part in the amateur night event at the Apollo Theater in February 1964. He came in first. That made him feel better. That showed he could handle a big group by himself. A friend from the Joe Tex band helped him get an audition with Ronnie Aisley, not long after that win. He liked Hendrix so much that he hired him to play guitar in the Aisley Brothers backing band. He said yes right away. It was a big step forward. Hendrix made his first recording track in March 1964. The single was called Testify, with the Aisley Brothers, and had 2 parts. The song came out in June, but it didn't do well on the charts. It was a start though. A song by Don Covey called Mercy Mercy was played by him in May. It was released in August, and got to number 35 on the Billboard list. Many months of 1964 were spent on tour with the Aisleys. By October though, he was sick of playing the same set every night. His mind was set on something else, so he quit the band. Not long after that he joined Little Richard's traveling band The Upsetters. They went to Los Angeles in February 1965. There he and Little Richard cut a song called Don't Know What You Got But It's Got Me. The song came out on VJ Records, and was written by Don Covey. It only got to number 92 on the charts for 1 week. Little Richard wasn't as well known at that point. Pink Floyd met Rosa Lee Brooks, a musician, while they were both staying at the Wilcox Hotel in Hollywood. He was asked to play guitar on her song. My Diary was on the A side, and UT was on the B side. Arthur Lee wrote both of the songs. Hendrix laid down the guitar on both songs, and even got to know Lee while they were recording. Hendrix later became a big fan of Lee's band, Love, after they became friends. The first time Hendrix was seen on TV was in July 1965. It was on WLAC-TV's Nashville show Night Train. He played with Little Richard's band, and backed up Buddy and Stacy on the song Shotgun. This is the first video we know of Hendrix playing live, but things were not going well with Little Richard. They often fought. It was fun for Hendrix to show off on stage. He dressed in flashy clothes that didn't go with Richard's style. Hendrix was fired from the band by Richard's brother Robert at the end of July. It was July 27, 1965, when Hendrix signed his first music deal. It was with Juggy Murray at Sue Records, and Copa, a marketing firm. After that he went back to the Eisenhower for a short time, and recorded another song. Move Over and Let Me Dance was the A-side, and Have You Ever Been Disappointed was the B-side. After the year was over, Hendrix met Curtis Knight at a hotel. Knight was in charge of an R&B group called The Squire. Hendrix moved in with them for 8 months. How Would You Feel was made by Hendrix and Knight in October 1965. Welcome Home was on the B-side. However, Hendrix had already signed a 2-year deal with Sue Record. He also signed another deal on October 15, 1965. This time it was with a man named Ed Chalpin. Made the deal for 3 years. The deal stuck around longer than the union. Hendrix had trouble with it later in his career. Hendrix worked with other acts between gigs with Curtis Knight and the Squires. He went on tour with Starlighter and Joey D. He made a song with King Curtis. He played on Ray Sharp's song, Help Me, as well. There were 2 parts to that track. In 1966, Hendrix got his first credit for writing a song. Hornet's Nest and Knock-Your were two instrumentals he wrote that were both recorded as singles by Curtis Knight and the Squires. Hendrix was ready to leave the R&B scene by 1966. He went to New York's Greenwich Village. It felt very creative in that area. It had new ideas, artists, and songs in it. In order to make money, Hendrix played music at Café Hoa on McDougal Street. Jimmy James and the Blue Flames is the name of the new band he formed. Randy California was a member, and he went on to form the band Spirit. The Blue Flames played all over New York. His sound changed because of those shows. He began to try out new styles and moves on stage. The band's last shows together were in September 1966 at Manhattan's Café Ogogo. At that point they were singing backup for a singer named John Hammond. Jimi Hendrix arrived at London Airport on September 24, 1966, with almost nothing. He borrowed $40, had a change of clothes, hair curlers, and a guitar with him. The new name for the airport was Heathrow. His life would change because of this trip, but he didn't know it yet. In the beginning of that summer, he played small shows in New York City as Jimmy James. Chaz Chandler, who used to play bass for the band Animals, saw him perform one night at Café Wa in Greenwich Village. Chandler wanted to hire new people. After seeing Hendrix play, he knew he had found something rare. It was only 12 days after Jimmy got to London that the Jimi Hendrix Experience came together. It took place on October 6, 1966. Chandler quickly got bands to come in.